Tuesday Q&A show. What up, what up? How's it going, my friends? It's Patrick. Welcome to the Tuesday Q&A show, episode 1, the phantom show that used to be a thing on Instagram and is now on YouTube by me. I don't know why I'm like this. Today we're sipping on some Death Wish coffee. Supposedly it's like the world's strongest coffee. I really dig it. It's something that I've been drinking since like mid-2020, so I'm ready to try something new. So my fellow coffee snobs, give me a little shout in the comments section below. But I guess we can start today's Tuesday Q&A with a brief history, because I'm sure a lot of you are like,
dude, what the hell is going on right now?
But the Tuesday Q&A show is a live show that I used to do every week. And you know, for a number of reasons, I just stopped doing that weekly show. But it was a lot of fun. It was a really cool way to connect with you guys. And it's always been something in the back of my mind that I thought would be fun to bring back. So I'm going to try a few of these Q&A shows. And if it's something that you guys enjoy, it's something that I'll continue to do. How it works is I'll be fielding your questions from Instagram. I'll throw up one of those Ask Me Anything posts on my Instagram story. And I'll pick a handful of questions to answer on the show. So let's get started. We'll start with some quick and easy ones. Leo Music asks, do you miss that great New York City winter weather? For those of you who don't know, I recently moved from New York City to Los Angeles. You know, Leo, I lived on the East Coast my whole life up until October of 2020. And I never really had much of a problem with the winter. But I will say, you don't know what you don't know. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to live in a place that has winter ever again. It's kind of nice to have nice weather all year round. So next up, my friend Jordan says, what acoustic strings do you prefer most and why? Brand, weight, etc. So if I'm going for like best tone, I really like the Martin Phosphor Bronze acoustic strings. I'll use either a light or a medium gauge string depending on the guitar and the tone that I'm going for. But I do gotta be honest, the more that my guitar collection expands and just kind of the less maintenance that I care to have with the instruments, I tend to use elixirs more often than not on both acoustic and electric. I like the lifespan of the string. I like that they feel newer for longer. I do definitely acknowledge that the tone is a little bright and twangy, especially on an acoustic, but I find that tonal brightness wears down pretty quickly. Ultimately, I just want a string that has a good lifespan and feels good under the fingers. El Samico, my friend Lindsay, says, what's your fave guitar to play? Lately, I've been playing that blue guitar a ton that I'm sure you guys have seen by now. It's the Lava Me Too carbon fiber acoustic guitar. Honestly, I was drawn to it just because it kind of looks funky, but it's been a really cool guitar. I've really enjoyed playing it. It's small and compact, easy to play, easy to cart around with you. I'll be sure to link up some videos if you want to check it out. I'm sure you've seen by now in my new studio, I have this big, beautiful wall of guitars. And the one that I find myself taking down off the wall to record and make music with most often is the Excel Mini DC from D'Angelico. You know, I can't really put my finger on exactly what it is that I love about that guitar. I don't know if it's like the size and playability or the feel or the tone, but I think it kind of just checks all of those boxes really well, and I just play it all the time. I love it. Our next question comes from Nick Johnson, and Nick asks, in your opinion, how good is FL in proportion to Pro Tools or Ableton? Nick is obviously talking about FL Studio, which is a popular digital audio workstation. And Nick, the short answer is it's really good. But honestly, dude, I think a lot of people get hung up on which DAW is best compared to the other one. And at the end of the day, like most things, it's about preference. It's about finding something that not only has features that are going to work really well for you, but also that has a layout and a UI that makes sense to you when you look at it. I do know that one of the things that you hear a lot about in relation to FL Studio is that it does have that really nice user interface, and it's a DAW that a lot of people find really easy to learn. The other cool thing about FL is there's a really passionate user base online. So there's going to be a lot of content, a lot of online tutorials, a lot of stuff that you can access for free to learn the platform, to learn the DAW. So for that reason, it may make sense for you to try FL Studio. And listen, whether you're considering Ableton, Logic, Pro Tools, FL, Reason, Cubase, whatever the case may be, chances are there's a free download, there's a free version that you can try. So I always recommend that to people. Start there, start with a free version. It sounds to me like something about FL has piqued your interest. So I always tell people, follow those instincts, follow that intuition. If you're curious about something, it's usually worth exploring. I've worked with Pro Tools a lot, and I think it definitely still is the industry standard for bigger studios with a lot of outboard gear and a lot of I/O and a big board and stuff like that. But I also think there's a reason why DIY producers are choosing Logic and Ableton and FL more than Pro Tools these days. I just think the workflow is a little bit better in some of those other options. So that's a big, big positive. So next question comes from my friend Skip, also known as Skippin' and Trippin'. Skip asks, how have you managed to stay productive during quarantine? That's a really good question. You know, man, to be honest with you, during peak quarantine, like March 2020 to May 2020, I really wasn't very productive at all. Like most of us, I was really overcome with overwhelm and anxiety, and 2020 was just a year full of that. So look, all of that is to say, we're all dealing with stuff in different ways that we haven't really dealt with before and to varying degrees. And my number one tip would be, obviously, take care of yourself, take care of your mental health, be patient with yourself, be patient with your emotions. And maybe you're good, you don't need to hear all that. That's just some stuff that I needed to tell myself. But you know, eventually I just had to take a step back and take a look at where I was and look at the things that I wanted to accomplish and say, okay, I've got to find a way to move forward and start chipping away at some of these goals. I find that the more areas of my life where I'm being disciplined, the better off I am. So am I actively taking care of my mental health and my physical health? Am I doing things like practicing my instrument and working on new music and making videos for you guys and doing all of the stuff that gives me that sense of purpose? Am I setting aside time to invest in relationships with others, with my wife, with my family, with my friends? All of these things really do contribute to our overall well-being. And if one of those pillars is falling down, then chances are the whole house is falling down. I'm somebody that is creative and constantly always up in my head, and I'm floating from one thing to the next. And it's hard to keep track of all of the different things in my life where I want to have discipline. So I have this planner. It's called the Creative Fox Planner. It sounds really lame and corny. I know I'm not the only one that even hearing the word planner gives me grade school flashbacks and PTSD. But listen, this is just something that's helped me kind of measure my goals every month and also measure my goals and my disciplines on a week-to-week basis. I've talked about this before. The phone is one of the biggest assets and biggest distractions that we have. It can do everything really, really well, but you can't really get super hyper-focused on one task or one project with a device that does all of the things. So I use this planner just as a way where I can sit with it. I can have something tangible in front of me. I can write on the pages. I can keep myself accountable. I can look back on goals that I set earlier in the month, earlier in the year. It has a little section where you can keep track of different skills and habits and disciplines that you want to work on. So am I writing every day? Am I working on new music? Am I practicing my guitar? Am I doing something nice and kind for my wife every day? Listen, maybe you find all that completely silly. Maybe it's not for you, but I find that I really need some accountability in my life. I need something that I can look at that shows me where I'm really succeeding, where I'm thriving, and where I'm falling short so that I can kind of keep all of those pillars that we talked about nice and strong. So listen, man, the moral of that whole rant is pick the things that you think are going to make your life better, help make you more productive, set goals for yourself on a monthly, weekly, and daily basis, and then find a way to keep track of those disciplines and hold yourself accountable. However that manifests itself for you, whatever makes sense for you, I definitely suggest doing that. But most of all, always be patient with yourself. All right, so for the sake of time, we're going to take one more question. And this question is from Ruben Makes Music. Ruben asks, how to manage practicing multiple things at once, parentheses, keys, guitar production. It's a great question, Ruben. I think it's something that a lot of musicians struggle with today. The accessibility of at-home music making and at-home recording is a great, great thing, but it often requires us to learn a lot of different skills. And listen, I don't know if there's really a right way to approach this, but I'll tell you what I do, and hopefully it helps. So I think it's important to identify your main thing, your main focus, your main instrument, your main skill that you're trying to work on. For me, it's guitar. There's really never a time where I'm not picking up the guitar and getting my reps in. There will be times where I'm a little bit more focused on the guitar. I'm spending a little bit more time practicing and trying to improve. But there's also times where I'm just picking up the guitar every day for 5, 10, 15 minutes and just making sure that I'm not getting rusty on my instrument. Now, as you start implementing and practicing new instruments, new skills, always remember to never neglect your number one. So next, let's talk about how to incorporate learning a new instrument, a new skill. And I think there's a couple of different routes that you can take. First, you can go super deep on that instrument or skill. Let's say you want to learn something like the bass guitar. You could definitely implement a slightly more regimented and intensive practice schedule. Like I mentioned in Skip's question just a minute ago, having something that will keep you accountable and something that will allow you to track your progress is really valuable when you are practicing an instrument or a skill a little bit more intensively. I think that it's super important to be consistent with your practice time. You would be better off practicing 5 to 10 minutes every single day than 3 hours in a single sitting once a week. So keep that in mind. Be super consistent. Challenge yourself to pick up your new instrument or practice that new skill once a day for 30 days. And I guarantee you will be very surprised at how much progress you make. Now, the other route that I personally really like is to take all of the skills that you're trying to learn and figure out a way to kind of practice them simultaneously. For example, let's say that you want to get better at producing music, but you also have an instrument that you want to keep up your practice schedule with, and you're also trying to improve as a songwriter. Challenge yourself to demo one song or make one beat a week. If you can do even more, that's great. But set a goal for yourself, something like a 1 to 2 minute demo every single week. And by the very nature of doing, you're going to be learning, because that music production, songwriting, beat making process is going to require you to get better as a musician. It's going to require you to get better as a producer. It's going to require you to get better as a songwriter and composer. And you can also create music around the skill that you're working on. So if you're trying to get better at guitar, make yourself a little beat that will allow you to solo over, or practice some new chord progressions, or do some different runs and stuff that you haven't tried before. If your main focus is your production and your mixing chops, use these tracks and these demos to teach yourself more about different recording techniques, different mixing techniques, learn more about compression and EQ and using different effects, and challenge yourself to always be experimenting with something new. Personally, that's the route that I more often than not have taken. I've always just made a lot of music and followed my interest. At the end of the day, it's just really about getting those reps in. It's about working on the things that you love, that you're interested in. And if you stick with it, I can guarantee that you will see improvement, my friend. So keep at it, and I hope that stuff helped. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up the Tuesday Q&A. I hope you found something in here that was valuable to you. I hope you learned a little something. At the end of every episode, I'm going to pick one of you guys to do what I'm calling the Show Love Shoutout. It's kind of a little cute title, don't you think? Today is my good friend hailing from Rome, Italy, Michele Beneforti. Michele is an amazing guitar player. He's an amazing producer, awesome songwriter. I've had the privilege of seeing him play live in New York City. Over the years, he's become more than just an internet acquaintance, but a good friend. So definitely check him out, show him some love over on Instagram. I'll attach a link to his profile in the description below. But Michele is going to play us out. Here's a little sample of one of his tunes. And if you want to be considered for next time's Show Love Shoutout, hit me with your Instagram handle in the description below. But that's going to wrap up the Tuesday Q&A, my friends. Until next time, my name's Patrick. I'll catch you guys real soon, all right? Peace.